Hello everyone, hola todos. Welcome back to yet another episode of the Tiki Tapas Podcast. This is episode 13. 13 in many cultures is considered unlucky. It's the number of the devil, some people say. But not for us. 13 means we are moving on to another platform to record our podcast, isn't it, Rahul? We are now jumping hoops and we are experimenting. Maybe next few episodes we're gonna have a nice intro as well. Who knows, right? Number 13 is not unlucky in all these cases, but how are you doing, Rahul? I mean, La Liga is ramping up in its final last match days now, and so much excitement, so much action. How are you feeling? You're back in London, aren't you?
Yeah, so for those who are watching on YouTube, you'll notice that my background looks a lot shoddier and I've got earphones in, my tech has all changed up. And that's because I've left sunny Valencia for freezing cold London for the next few weeks. So yeah, the episodes will now be from here and let's see how the tech holds up. But yeah, so I'm actually gutted to not be in Spain for the final kind of couple of weeks.
Yeah,
I was out of Valencia yesterday when Levante played against Mallorca,
yeah,
but I couldn't get a ticket anyway, so
yeah.
no harm, no foul there. But yeah, no, I'm back in London and very, very intrigued by how this season is going to end.
Yeah, we are just looking forward to the last match day next weekend. There's 9 games happening at the same time. The only one that's not going to happen at the same time is Villarreal Atletico Madrid, which is going to be a shootout for the fourth place. Both Villarreal Atleti tied on 69 points. Nice. But we are going to talk about teams who go down. But we have to first of all congratulate a team that has sealed promotion to La Liga after so long. It's Racing Santander. Rahul Racing Santander is, of course, for the historical clubs. They've been in La Liga for so long, and they have earned a well-deserved promotion back to La Liga. And they are not the only historical or big team that might be coming up from Segunda. Deportivo La Coruna are sitting second. They have a sizable lead, and they might just secure automatic qualification without the need of playoffs. And then below them is Almeria, Malaga, Castellon, Las Palmas. Every single one of these clubs have history in La Liga, right? Malaga, of course, they were such a mainstay in the early 2010s. Um, Las Palmas, just I think last 2 seasons ago, they got relegated, and they've been a very entertaining club to watch all the time. Of course, they play in one of the most exotic locations on planet Earth, so that's a great bonus. But I personally would want to see, alongside Racing Santander, Deportivo La Coruña and Malaga come up top. And then it's going to be like a proper La Liga. I wish Real Oviedo stayed as well, but the Real Oviedo is going down. But it would be so cool, man, to see Racing Santander and Deportivo La Coruña and Malaga come back. What are your thoughts on who you think who you want to come up from the Segunda Division next season?
Well, I'm really happy Real Racing Santander are back, and I think they fully deserve it. They knocked Villarreal out of the Copa del Rey this season. They have an intense home atmosphere. They play a very aggressive, kind of front-footed style of football. Villarreal couldn't cope in that game. And yeah, they've absolutely smashed their Gunda. They're back after 14 years. The scenes at the stadium look amazing. So yeah, I'm delighted they're back. Same for Deportivo, though. They've just got such a huge history. They were in European quarterfinals earlier this century. They got relegated in 2018. And yeah, as you say, it now feels like there's going to be a much more old school feel. After Retro Weekend a few weeks ago, there's now an
Yeah,
old school feel to La Liga next season. In any other circumstance, I would agree with you about Malaga because, again, they're a historic club. They were in European quarter final in 2013. They've had a rough ride of it. They went down in 2018 and haven't been
yeah,
up since.
yeah.
They went down to the third division, I think, as well. Um, any other season, I'd say Malaga. This season, I want Castellon up because, well, not just because they're in the Valencian region,
Yeah.
their whole story, they've not been in top flight. They've
Mm.
not, they are the derby for Villarreal,
Yeah.
and that derby has never ever happened in La Liga. So if they
Mm.
come up, that's already two spicy games right there. Again, they have a cool stadium, really intense home atmosphere. Leeds and well, former Valencia player Pablo Hernandez is their manager.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing really good things. It's been really entertaining to follow them. And so, sorry, Malaga, but I'd love it if Castellon came up.
No, no love from Malaga. This from Rahul. this season. He wants Castellon back. But even in the Segunda Division, just one more thing I want to add is that another club which you could consider historic, Real Zaragoza, are going down. They are not staying up in Segunda Division. They're gonna go down to Primera Federación, which is unthinkable. I mean, la, like it's just something I would not think I would see so early on, like so quickly. I mean, I thought they are on a spiral down, but it looks like they are gonna go down now, or I think it's already confirmed. But that's just something I wanted to add because so much is happening in every division. For top five in La Liga are playing in Europe. That's it's confirmed now. Nothing's changing there. From 6 to 19, it's such a volatile sort of table right now, and we are gonna get to the talking about who we think is gonna bite the bullet in the final match day. But before that, let's talk about the two moments this week that we saw that were really emotional. I think because it's something we mentioned in the past, and it's also something that has finally come, and we've seen it happen. It's the farewells of Griezmann and Lewandowski. We said Griezmann. We had an episode about him where we talked about his legacy and Atletico Madrid, but just seeing him yesterday, realizing he will never play at the Metropolitano again. Even as someone who was watching Barcelona and Lewandowski go through the same thing, a few hours later. It's just surreal. Like these players, I mean Griezmann especially, ever since I started watching La Liga, Spanish football, he's just been there. He's been omnipresent, even in his bad seasons, even in the Barca time. He's been there. He makes headlines. He plays well. We talk about his bad luck, but just seeing him with his family and also Lewandowski with his family saying goodbye to the fans, it was such a great moment, wasn't it, Rahul?
Yeah, and I particularly like Lewandowski when he came off to the standing ovation from the
Yeah,
new camp,
yeah.
and after the game, he's on the pitch for ages.
Mm,
He's someone who I don't think he goes down as a Barcelona legend,
mm,
and he came in a rough time for the club.
mm,
It's been hit and miss for him in the last 2 seasons,
mm.
performances wise. I think he's going at the right time,
Yeah,
but I think history should be so kind to him
yeah.
for just how much of an impact he made at Barcelona. And he was one of the best strikers of the generation at Bayern Munich. He came to Barca at a time where they really were desperate for some superstar quality. And he scored. His goal record's very, very good. And when you look at some of the other strikers Barcelona had in history, yeah, he doesn't kind of square up to the Samuel Eto'os or Luis Suarez's or Romario's. But in this modern era of Barcelona, where they haven't been blessed with the money to go and buy, well, Suarez again, for example, Lewandowski came in and did very, very well when it could have gone badly wrong. And he brought into the club. He was very well liked by his manager, by his teammates. And yeah, I think he'll go down as a kind of cult hero, cult figure at Barcelona. He'll be fondly remembered, but yeah, does he fall into that bracket of legend? Probably not for me. Um, which leads me on to a question and debate that I want to ask you
He's a legend for
because
me.
I've had this.
He's a legend for me.
Well,
There you
he's a
go.
legend. Well, that's it. It's like it's how you see it. I'm obviously not a
Yeah,
Barcelona fan, so I can't really say.
yeah, yeah,
But I guess because legends, it comes down to more than what you win.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's the connection you have to the club, which
yeah.
he had very well.
100%.
Um, but then that leads me on back onto the other player, Antoine Griezmann,
Yeah,
who is Atletico's best ever player.
yeah,
But, but, is he an Atletico legend? Because I've actually had this debate,
yeah.
thinking it wasn't up for debate. How could your greatest ever player not be a legend?
Mm-hmm.
But there are sections of the Atletico fan base who aren't happy with him because of the way he left, the dramatic nature
Yeah,
around it, the
yeah,
way
yeah,
he
yeah.
went to Barcelona, and the caveat that if he succeeded at Barcelona, he wouldn't have come back to Atletico.
Mm,
And so,
that's a great
as
point.
you say, in his farewell speech, he said, he held his hand up and said, sorry, I shouldn't have joined Barcelona.
Come
Does
on.
that make him a legend now? Possibly, maybe now the people who don't call him one, the
Yeah,
Atletico fans who still were rubbed up the wrong way,
yeah.
maybe that moment is kind of coming full circle and they're like, okay, fine. You admit you were wrong. It didn't work out there, but it worked out here. And yeah, he's a legend. But I'm interested to see your thoughts on it.
Well, first of all, in terms of Lewandowski, because it's a very valid opinion, because how you define a legend, what do you define him as? Do you define him as the trophies he's won for the club? Do you define him as the legacy he's cultivated with the fans and with everyone in the system? Or or do you define him as by his previous legacy, not just at the club? Lewandowski, when he came to Barca, even at that time, he could have stayed at Bayern. He could have still been playing for Bayern at least two more years. He could have given them in his prime. And the Harry Kane that we are seeing these days at Bayern, that could have been Lewandowski. And then if Lewandowski had stayed, he would just be in a whole different conversation in terms of pure number nine strike. He would have surpassed everyone. I think he's already surpassed everyone in terms of pure number nines. When you don't count Messi and Ronaldo as pure number nines. You count them as like anomalies. But behind them, I think Lewandowski has definitely taken the mantle for one of the best, if not the best strikers of this generation. So for him to make that sacrifice to come to Barca at a time when, as you said, Barca could not sign, it was impossible that they would go to Bayern and give them money and be like, hey, sell us Lewandowski. Lewandowski had to make that choice himself that, okay, I want to go, you have to let me go. So many other players would not do that. And then he comes in to a dysfunctional team. I mean, the first season he did win La Liga under Xavi, but I think the fact that he's won three La Liga titles in his 4 years here, that's testament to how good he has been for the club. Because when he came in, also Barcelona did not have an identity. They were relying on youth products. Lamine Yamal was still a nobody. Gavi established, but still, he wasn't a leader in the team. Fermin wasn't there, right? Kubarsi, who was Kubarsi at that time? We don't know Kubarsi. Pedri was being overplayed, and we still did not know if he was gonna meet that potential that we established of him. Lewandowski, I think, has, for me, and if you ask a majority of the fan base, for just the amount of time he stayed and the impact he's had, he could be considered a legend. Not in terms of the numbers, because Suarez got like what 200 goals in what 5 years at the 6 years at the club. Lewandowski stayed for 4 years and he's got 120. Who knows what he could have done with two more seasons? And every record you look at for Lewandowski, he's just below the top 10 or top 12. I think he's top 14th all-time La Liga scorer for Barcelona. He's the third all-time scorer for Barcelona in the Champions League. Suarez is just 25. Lewandowski has 24. So he has made impact, but it was just, I would say, it was not seen because it was not done with like a lot of glory. Like Champions League, Barcelona went down with a lot of like the match against Inter, PSG, and this season as well, Atletico Madrid. So certain times, I think the narrative kind of shifted that Lewandowski is old and he can't help the team anymore. But just his mere presence has helped evolve like Ferran Torres or someone like Dani Olmo or Fermin Lopez, who are now second strikers essentially. They learn a lot from someone like Lewandowski. I will stop myself there because I'm going on a tangent about Barcelona, which is not the point of this podcast. But yeah, that is what I would define as a legend as. In terms of Griezmann, well, in terms of his prime and the football he's played, in any context, he's a legend. But for Atletico Madrid, when you leave so acrimoniously in after making a whole documentary like the LeBron James, oh, I'm staying here, I'm not leaving. Next year, you go 2 years, doesn't work out for you, and you come back on loan, and then you ask for forgiveness. Some people can say it's because he realized that Atleti is where his heart is. Some people can say he just couldn't cut it outside of Atletico Madrid. So it's such a thin line. Do you consider him? I think many. I think overall, I would say he's a legend. He has not won trophies. He's not won. He's not reached the sort of heights I thought he would take Atleti to when he went from Real Sociedad, because he was one of the best players from Real Sociedad when he made that move. And Atleti just Champions League finals back 2 years, 2 out of 3 years Champions League finals. They won the La Liga in 2014. It should have elevated Atletico Madrid much higher. with Griezmann. So in terms of that, I don't think he's quite reached that potential. But for me, I think I'll consider him a legend. I mean, Atletico Madrid for him for the amount of like exposure also he has given to the club, like establishing Atletico Madrid and again as the big three. It's not just Simeone; it's also Griezmann who's played a big part in that as well. Um, yeah, I think I'll consider him a legend for just for that reason.
Yeah, and I think, as I say, in a few years' time,
Yeah,
history will look back on him as a legend, even
yeah,
if people are a bit skeptical now.
yeah,
And just the quality of player he was, and he did win trophies. He won the Europa League.
yeah,
It wasn't necessarily the Copa del Rey or the
yeah,
Champions League or La Liga.
yeah,
He was a bit unlucky in that the year he was gone was when Atleti won it.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but I think, yeah, I mean, he is there as for his impact at Atletico Madrid. There's no one greater. So just by that default, he will be remembered for years and years and years.
yeah,
And I think the send off he got from the entire club,
yeah,
I think even if some fans are a bit skeptical, I do think they consider him a legend.
yeah,
And yeah, in future years, yeah, you refer to him as Antoine Griezmann, Atletico Madrid legend. So
yeah.
yeah, I think he qualifies, even if people might disagree.
And I think just the fact that he got a good farewell, like all the fans have forgiven him, and they are now leaving, letting him go with like a heavy heart, and there's no like animosity. I think that also kind of plays a part in me calling him a legend because if he left in 2019, because his career in Atletico Madrid before he joined Barcelona has been much better than now, since he came back from Barcelona. So if you actually look at his legend status, it has to be the Atleti years from 14 to 19, right? But if he had left Atletico Madrid in 29 and never came back, he would have gone from Barcelona to, I don't know, go back, go to France or go somewhere else, go to Premier League. Then I would not consider him an Atletico Madrid legend. He left acrimoniously. He left. He played really well, but the way he left, I don't think I would. Just the way Luis Figo is not a Barcelona legend.
Yeah,
Similarly, I would not consider Atletico Madrid legend Griezmann if he didn't come back. But he came back. He realized his mistakes. He put in performances. His body was failing him, but he still went on, and he's won over the Athletic faithful, and they are now letting him go with like a heavy heart. So I think just because of that, to relentlessly keep on trying to ask forgiveness with his performances and trying his best to get some sort of silverware in his latter years at Athletic, I think just for that I'm going to come through. But great question. Great question. The tables have turned today. You're asking me questions. Nice, nice. But talking about La Liga, I think we cannot not talk about the relegation battle again. It has been the focus of our episodes for so long because the top half of the table, to be fair, is just boring. Barca, Real Madrid. That's why we don't talk about this in this podcast. We want to talk about every other team. And which is why, again, we have to come back and talk about the relegations landscape with just one match day to go, especially considering in the last match day, 17 versus 18, 19 versus 20 will all play against each other. But this week, Mallorca is now in danger. They've played Levante. They lost 2-0. Levante won 2-0, of course. And that has brought Mallorca down into the relegation zone. For so long, it seemed like Mallorca is going to just narrowly escape it. I mean, their talisman, Vedat Muric, has been banging goals left and right. What, 22 goals for him all season. And then he finds the rest of his team failing him in a way. I don't know. They sit in the relegation zone. They have a mountain to climb because it's not in their hands. They have to win. They have to hope people above them drop points. But just Levante, I think they're safe now. Levante is gonna get out and gonna stay in the first division, which is good for you because you, as a Valencia region person who lives in Valencia, you can go on and watch more games in the Valencia region, right? Now Levante is staying up.
oh yeah. I couldn't get a ticket on Sunday, but well, it seemed like an incredible occasion. There was a whole big welcome for the buses at Levante.
Yeah,
It was sold out. It was sold out by a mile,
yeah,
and it's because they realised the magnitude of the game. It
yeah,
was essentially a cup final to stay up,
yeah,
and if Levante had lost, then they would be it would be out of their hands.
yeah.
They are now 15th, and they've been in the bottom three for 35 out of 37 game weeks, I believe. And
Crazy.
it if they do stay up, it's not confirmed yet. They do need to get at least a point away at Real Betis, I think, and hope other results swing their way. That's not the easiest, but if they do stay up, for me, Luis Castro is unequivocally manager of the season.
Mm-hmm.
It would be one of the greatest escapes in La Liga history
Mm-hmm.
because they looked down and out, even at some of the games I was at.
Yeah.
Some of the fans are saying, yeah, it's just too much this season. We
Yeah.
can't cope. But if they stay up, then that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And it's not only the fact that they're going to stay up, it's the way they've done it. They've won, I think, 7 of their last 10 or 11 games.
Wow.
They've won now 5 home games in a row. It's becoming a fortress at Estadio Ciudad de Valencia. And the atmosphere there is rocking. It really does help the team. You're so close to the pitch there as well that you really feel the energy there. And I was at the game against Sevilla where, again, that felt like a 6-pointer. And that felt like, right, if we lose here, we're done. But if we win, then maybe Sevilla are done. And it was absolute chaos at the end when um, Ivan Romero scored his second goal in injury time,
Yeah.
and there were bodies flying around me. It was absolutely brilliant, and it seemed the same yesterday. But it does show the fine margins of this relegation battle because Levante started the better team against Mallorca. Mallorca looked a bit shell shocked. I think home advantage played its part in that. But then the first goal, it came from Carlos SB, who has been the absolute saviour of Levante, but it came from a David Lopez mistake, and it's a horrendous mistake from one of their most experienced players. And that's the difference in this relegation battle, is that a player like David Lopez making such a huge error with all this pressure on the line. It's the difference between staying up and going down. And meanwhile, Matty Ryan in goal for Levante is someone I've actually criticised a fair bit. It's a bit slow off his line. Can't blame him because he's a bit old, but he was brilliant for Levante. He made several big saves against Mallorca, and it was a very evenly matched game for a while. Even though I thought Levante were the best team overall, Mallorca do have a lot of individual quality, and we've praised Vedat Mauricio, I think, almost every single episode of this podcast. And he, even though he didn't score, he was looking very dangerous.
Yeah.
Samuel Costa, as a Portugal
Samuel Costa.
international, is somehow there. And again, he was brilliant. He had a few chances saved. Jean Vigili as well, player who I think should be staying in La Liga if they go down. So yeah, it's a shame for Mallorca because we've praised Martin Demichelis. We've liked what he's been doing there and the impact he's made
Yeah.
since taking over. I think maybe if he joined a month earlier, they might have had a better shot of staying up. But yeah, full credit to Levante. It was a very, very good game to watch. And yeah, if they get the job done now, then like it's one of the stories of the season. And yeah, I think this final game week, there's a lot of teams to keep your eye on. There are those who secured their safety. So we were worried about Sevilla.
Oh yeah.
We were worried about Alaves.
Yeah.
Espanyol as well. They went 18 games without a win, but when push came to shove, they won back to back. And so they've all confirmed their safety.
Yeah.
And such is the nature of this ridiculous table that Valencia not only confirmed their safety, but somehow still in this European battle. And I was at the game against Rayo on Thursday,
Yeah.
where the pre-match atmosphere was brilliant.
Yeah.
And at the start, they had flags in the seats. The singing section had planned a big welcome. They encouraged everyone to stay and wear white. And at the first few minutes, even the upper tier of the start, everyone was bouncing. And I hadn't seen that in a while. And that's because they were gunning for Europe. And I didn't agree with them. I kept saying, you're not good enough for Europe. You're still pretty far off. Just focus on relegation first. And then, yeah, they drew 1-1 with a heavily rotated Rayo. Wasn't a good game to watch. It was heavy booing at the end. The players tried to clap the team, the fans told them to get out. And so that doesn't scream a club going on a big, unexpected adventure to Europe. But then they won 4-3 with 10 men at Real Sociedad. And with some brilliant goals in there from Javi Guerra. it was it was remarkable. I was trying to watch several games at the same time yesterday, and it was too much for me to keep up with. But then I managed to catch the end of the Valencia Real Sociedad game, and away at Anoeta, Real Sociedad are on the beach, but Valencia, it's so weird with them right now because Carlos Corberan is a manager who takes a lot of flack, and I actually defend him a lot, thinking, what can anyone do with that Valencia squad? And I really hope they if they do make Europe, they don't play the prettiest football, but what can you do with like some of the players in that back line who pass it straight out of play on a consistent basis? And if he's taken them to Europe, then that's also a big achievement. But they really hate Corberan, and they boo for Peter Lim every game, obviously, but they also boo Corberan. And then suddenly they're very keen to say, "Oh yeah, we're about to make Europe. Oh yeah, we're about to go." And I hope they do. I hope they do make it because then that means the final season at Mestalla
Yeah,
will have European football,
yeah,
and I can go to those games as well. But um, it is crazy to me that it's even a conversation and that they're not in there with Osasuna and Elche thinking, right, we've got to stay up here. So I don't know what to make of them. They don't play good football, but under Corberan, they do have this mentality that they score late goals, that they battle to the end, and it's like I said when I left the Alaves game early at 2-1
yeah,
Alaves,
yeah,
and they came back to win 3-2.
yeah. I remember.
That's not something I expected, but they do have this mentality under Corberan that they keep going to the end. So I think if they win the final game, it's against Barcelona in the style. So let's see how that goes. But if they make Europe, then well, this was a point we raised before that we want to talk about is how tight the table is and how do we think that will
It's
impact whoever qualifies for Europe next season.
it's absolutely insane. The table is so congested from seventh down to 19th. I mean, you that's what I think. I made the point last week as well. Like Sevilla, if they had won the last two games, they could realistically be in contention for Europe. And just 3 weeks ago, we said, "Oh, they're 19th or 18th, and they cannot make it out. They are going down." I'm gonna pull down my Sevilla flag as well. It was like that bad. But now, yeah, they're safe and they're like chilling in the mid table, and that's crazy. Um, but I'm gonna intercept this segment. I'm gonna hijack this segment to talk about the fact of this week, which is a segment we have been doing recently for the last 2 weeks. And Rahul, I don't I don't know if you know this, but I'm gonna give you three names. Tell me, one of these names is the oldest football club in Spain. Do you already know which is the oldest football club in Spain?
I think I knew this 2 weeks ago because someone
Two
said it to
weeks
me,
ago.
and I can't remember for the life of me.
Well, this is
It
pub.
begins with
Huh?
begins with a C. It begins with a C, does it?
Well, I can't say it until I give you the
Ah,
options. Well, the fun fact of the week is now we're gonna tell you what's the oldest professional football club in Spain. So three options: Sevilla FC, Cartagena FC, Recreativo de Huelva. These are three options. Which one of these teams do you think is the oldest professional football club in Spain?
see, in my head it's Recreativo, but for some reason I kept thinking it begins with C, so kind of Cartagena.
Cartagena?
Let's go with Recreativo.
Yeah, you're correct. It's Recreativo de Huelva.
Yes.
I don't even know if Cartagena FC is real. I just made it up because you said it's a C. So let me
No,
see.
no, it is.
'Cause Cartagena is
Because
Colombia, right? There's a FC Cartagena in Colombia. I don't know if there's one in Spain or not.
there is in
There
Spain.
is,
So
there is.
I've actually there's Cartagena in Spain and there's Cartagena in Colombia. The
Oh, okay,
ironic thing
okay.
is I live in Spain, but I've not been to the one in Spain, but I've been to the one in Colombia.
Okay,
But
wow.
so when you said that, I thought, nah, I'd instantly know if it
Ah,
was
shit. I should
Cartagena.
have come
But
up with some other C's. Because you said C and I wanted to throw you off with that. But
yeah,
yeah,
that almost very. If it wasn't a C, then I'd have
yeah,
instantly gone Recreativo because
yeah, yeah.
it was in my head. You saying it kind of
I should have said
triggered
Castellon,
memory. I was
man.
like, ah,
Damn. Yeah, but yeah, fact is that Real Club Recreativo de Huelva, founded in 1889, one of the oldest clubs in Spain. Sevilla was founded in 1890, so just a year difference between them. And I think they played one of the first professional football games before the Copa del Rey, before La Liga. I think Huelva and Sevilla in March 1890 played one of the first Spanish football games. So yeah, fun fact. So everyone who's listening, back to the relegation talk. Next week, we have to talk about first. We have to talk about Girona because it's not looking like they are gonna survive. To be very frank with you, next week is Elche versus Girona, which is 17 versus 18, and then Mallorca versus Oviedo, which is 19 versus 20. Girona have to beat Elche. There is no other way. If Elche get a point or Elche beat Girona, Girona's out. And this is such a unexpected outcome for a team that 2 seasons ago was had led the La Liga table for a brief period. I think they comfortably were the best Catalan team that season. Barcelona were struggling until the very end of the season when they eventually overtook Girona. Girona was beating these giants, Real Madrid. Girona was like the Villarreal of this season. Like that's the best way to put it for people who don't know the context. And then they lost so much players. They lost Salvino, they lost Gutierrez, they lost Alex Garcia. Even more, I can't even name this. So many Artem Dovbik. So many players left Girona after that miraculous season. Next season, they win the Champions League. They perform like Villarreal this season. So there's so many parallels in the Champions League as well. And what do you think, Rahul? Is Girona gonna get a result against Elche? Because Elche also under Eder Sarabia, they started off the season so well, but then they kept flirting with relegation all season long up to the halfway point. And every week, I'm personally hoping that Elche gets out of the relegation zone. They secure some gap, some daylight between the relegation zone and themselves. But it seems like they keep getting dragged down, and now they are 17th with the final match day where they're going to be facing the 18th place team. So it's going to be a straight playoff. It's going to be whoever wins it stays up. What do you think? Who do you think is going to take the cake? I want to hear your thoughts about Girona first, and then we're going to move to Elche. But what happened to Girona, man? Really, what happened?
Well, as you say, in a wider context, yeah, they've lost their best players consistently.
Yeah.
And despite being owned by the City Football Group, yeah, it means City can go and poach Savinho and do
Oh
what they
man.
want with him. But then the investment's not there to replace him. And they still do have a very good squad. I'd go as far to say that this Girona squad is better than Valencia's squad. We're talking about
Mhm.
Lemon Europe.
Mhm.
And players like Azzurri Unahi,
Yeah.
they should not be going down. But, and even Michel as a manager,
Yeah.
for me, he's a top coach who is destined for a big job.
Yeah.
But then suddenly he might have a relegation on the CV. And even a few weeks ago, they were looking fine. They were playing well. They beat Barcelona very convincingly in February or March, I think.
Mhm.
And in no point in the until the last maybe 2 or 3 weeks did I think Girona were in danger. But such is this table is that anyone can get sucked in.
Yeah.
And I think it's bad if Girona go down. I think I have no love for their ownership group, so it's not the worst outcome. But I think it'd be so heartbreaking for Michelle and for some of those players after what they've achieved.
Yeah.
Because, as you said, 2 years ago, they were a genuine title contender. It wasn't, you said they're the Villarreal this season, but
Yeah.
I don't, I thought Girona were even better that season.
Yeah.
They played better football. They were closer
Yeah.
to, they were leading La Liga for a while. And imagine if you told them then that 2 years later they'd be going down. It's crazy. But Elche, they came up and they played some very good football under Eder Sarabia. They started really well. They had a rough patch. They've kind of come back a bit. Again, they've got some good players who I think are moving on regardless of what they do. So Alex Fabas, for example, is leaving on a free, and it looks like he's going to Espanyol. For me, he's been their best player this season and been one of the best central midfielders in La Liga. So there's so much quality at the bottom, but because of the craziness of the table, is that they're fighting for their lives. And these are two teams that do play on the front foot. It's why I'm quite gutted to see one of them potentially go. Um, so it is a rough one. I think it's so tough to call this game. I think maybe Girona's experience may help them, having been in La Liga a bit longer in the last few years. They've maybe got a few more senior players in there, the Daily Blinds, and um, yeah, I think unfortunately for Elche, I think Girona win and it keeps them up. It sends Elche down,
Uh,
and then the rest of the results, Mallorca, it could potentially be a three or possibly it could be a three-way tie with three teams on the same number of points, and it'll go to a mini head-to-head league. And I think if it does, if Levante lose at Betis, then Levante still stay up. If it comes to that, I think there's a whole. I was looking at the permutations earlier today, and it gave me a headache because
yeah,
there's so
man.
many different teams and different results determine who goes down. Someone needs
Yeah,
to go and create an online calculator to make it easier for us.
please,
But
please. Yeah,
um, yeah, another team a bit like Girona is Osasuna,
yeah,
who suddenly in the final game week could go down. When earlier this season we were talking about Europe, and again they've got so much quality in their team. With Victor Munoz, for example, he's about to go to the World Cup, and he scored an absolute brilliant goal yesterday against Espanyol. But they lost at home to a side that had won 1 in 18, and they've now lost five of their last six. It's been a complete collapse towards the end of the season and right at the wrong time. And I think a lot of it is about timing because, well, Elche started the season well, but in this battle because they had a poor period around February, March, April. And Espanyol were terrible for months, but they've won right at the right time. And same with Sevilla, they picked up form right at the right time. And so just steering clear of this battle, it comes down to one result here and there. And that is the thing is two different Osasuna results, two losses turn into wins, and then the European battle, and now they could go down. And so for next season, whoever qualifies for Europe, be it Celta in sixth place, if it's Getafe or if it's Rayo, well, Rayo if they win the Conference League as well, if it's Valencia, whoever gets to Europe will essentially have just been not so much the luckiest, but maybe the most fortunate team out of this whole pack of teams that can go down. And as you say, Sevilla, it was still a possibility until 2 weeks ago. So I do wonder how they will do, whoever goes to Europe, how they will do. If Valencia go to Europe with this squad and the way they play now, they are going to get volleyed up and down Europe. And even in the Conference League, like Valencia fans moan at me when I moan about their team. And the old saying, the table doesn't lie. In this season, in this context of La Liga, the table does lie because Valencia are ninth, but I don't think they're a better team than some of the ones in 15th and 16th. And the eye test of watching them week in, week out. And then when I watch Girona, I'm so much more impressed by Girona. And next season, they could be in Segunda and Valencia in the Conference League. And it is just absolutely mental how that's all happened. But yeah, I think whoever goes down could even go down with 42 or 43 points. And imagine going down with 43 points. You can't have done much more. It could have been a one goal swing at any point, in a one goal defeat, in a 1-1 draw. Like every point in the last kind of 2 months has mattered. And it takes so much more than just having quality, which Girona do. It's having the mentality, it's having a good core of players who have been there for a while. It's having almost a miracle. And in Carlos SB, Levante found a miracle. He scored 9 and 12 as a 20-year-old striker. And again, when the opportunity was presented to him, he took his chance. And that's the difference. I think Girona going away to Atleti and they missed a few chances with Atleti on the beach. If they even got a point yesterday, that could have maybe put them in a much stronger position. But yeah, I think they've lost one or two games too many. They let results slide too easily. and now here they are.
Yeah, they are. And just a quick, I want your quick thoughts about Carlos Espy because that's a player we haven't talked about, and I think we should have talked about him. He's what 2 seasons in Levante, and I mean, this is his breakout season. I mean, he's been previously in the Segunda Division, of course. He just came up and 9 goals this season, 21 games, 9 goals. He's got couple in the Copa del Rey as well. I really love watching him play, and as you said, his recent run, all his goals have come in the recent sort of run when Levante actually needed him. So, and he has a contract until 2028. Is he there? Is a question to be asked of a few more consistent performances, maybe another season or so, and then he leads the Spanish line. What do you think? National
It's a
team?
tough one to say because, well, the national team, I don't think they have a striker like him. He's an old school number nine. He's tall, he's physical, he battles really well, he's good in the air. But with the ball at his feet, I don't think he suits a possession side.
Okay.
And I've watched him closely. I've made a point when I've been at Levante, I'm watching him closely to see what exactly he's like, his movement. There are times where this iteration of Levante and Luis Castro, they really, really run hard. And we saw Roger Brugge yesterday. He tracked back a good 30 yards to go and win the ball in his own half and drag it forward.
Yeah.
And SB doesn't necessarily do that. I'm not saying he's lazy, but at times he's a bit static. And I don't see how that would suit Spain unless it's just coming off the bench as a battering ram away. And I also say this in the context of if he was to move, because there's now a lot of interest in him. I think he suits a side that plays on the counter. He likes having space to run into. When he does move, he's quite mobile. Um, but yeah, his physicality and his finishing, his eye for goal, are brilliant for someone his age. And maybe I sound harsh because he is only a 20-year-old striker playing in a relegation battling side, and he scored almost double-figure goals. It's unheard of. But I think he needs some refinement. If Levante stay up, I think another season there would be perfect for him in an environment with a manager he's familiar with as the kind of starting striker. The fans love him there as well. For the Spain squad, it all depends on the way they want to use him because I do think with any national team, I think I said this in the previous episode, you need a profile of nine who can just come on and occupy the space and find the back of the net. And that's what he does. So in future tournaments, I definitely you can rule him out of this World Cup. He's not even on
Yeah,
in any list. But as maybe a long term kind of Borja Iglesias replacement, as a squad member who, yeah, he can be in and around the team, come off the bench if they need a focal point up front, because there aren't many other Spaniards like him. Um, but can I see him leading the line at a tournament? It depends on how he develops, because as I say, he's only 20. In the next few years, he can refine his game pretty well with the ball at his feet, especially if he moves to a side which requires him to do so. And if his eye for goal is this good now, it's only going to get better. So who knows if he goes and scores 20 La Liga goals for a counter-attacking side in the next few years for I don't know Real Sociedad or something, then yeah, why not? But my prediction, if we're going to dig this episode out of the archives by Euro 2028,
yeah.
then it will be that he can maybe be in the squad as an alternative option, but he doesn't bring in possession what someone like Oyarzabal as a false nine does.
Yeah, yeah. It's not a typical Spanish national team forward profile that they want. He's like an enforcer in the forward line. Like he will crash the box and he'll win all the duels that he needs to. But in terms of like holding up the ball or like making space for other players to kind of run off of him, I don't think he does that yet. Who knows what he's gonna do next and as it develops. But as we wrap this episode up, this is the last part of this episode. Tell me, with 7 days to go, which 3 teams are going down? Of course, we know one is Oviedo. What other 2 teams you think are going down? For me, I think it is Mallorca. I'm sorry, Vedat Murici. It hurts my heart to say that. And I'm going to go against you and I'm going to say Elche is going to win over Girona and Girona score going down. So for me, it's the way the table is now. Girona goes down, Mallorca, they might win, but the other results don't go their way. And of course, Real Oviedo. What's your prediction to close off this episode?
So Oviedo down.
Yeah.
I think, unfortunately, sorry, Uncle Marici,
Ah,
Mallorca down.
yeah.
And yeah, I said Girona beat Elche. So Elche down. Again, unfortunately, I really like Eder Sarabia. I really love to watch Alex Febas. Alvaro Rodriguez as well, very good striker. Yeah, unfortunately, I think Girona overpower Elche on the final day to stay up. And that is the game to watch. That is a game I'm really, really
Yeah.
excited to watch.
Yeah, it's 9 games at the same time. I think both of us will be watching it next weekend. In case anyone wants to join on La Liga Vic, I'll be doing a watch along of every single game. So make sure if you want to be a part of that, be sure to join me. And with that being said, that brings us to the end of this episode. Very heavy episode, a lot of things to talk about, but that's just how the league has been. Everything is on the line next Saturday. By the time I think we're gonna meet before that, we're having a episode plan that we are gonna bring more details to about over the week. But yeah, by the time we meet for a regular episode next Monday, La Liga will be over. That's sad. What am I gonna do with my dose of Spanish football? But we'll still have a bunch of stuff to look forward to. I think we'll see. World Cup is coming up. We have a long summer. We're planning on bringing a lot of guests to talk about niche oriented guests. So someone who expert in Segunda Division, someone who's expert in certain clubs, someone who's expert in certain topics. We're planning a lot of stuff. So if you don't want to miss that, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. And if you are listening to this on Spotify, then make sure you follow us and you listen to us when we come live every Monday, uh, bringing you the best of Spanish football from last week and just in general everything that happens in Spain and around Spain. We talk about it, and yeah, it's a great place to be, right? And with that being said, Rahul, I think today you should do the outro in English itself because you're back in England. You're not in Spain anymore. So why don't you close the episode by saying your goodbyes like how you normally would?
Yeah, so instead of saying Nos vemos el viernes, I'll say see you on Friday.
Yeah, the location, our language depends on Rahul's location because he's the one that's on the ground these days. So, yeah, with that being said, thank you everyone for tuning in. We'll see you for a special episode coming up this week and then the regular episode by the time La Liga is completely decided. So, enjoy the relegation battle, enjoy the last match day of Spanish football this season. We'll be back very soon. Take care, everyone. Thanks for joining in. Bye bye. Where's this?